Focus High
Wishing you
School.
all a very happy Republic Day. The importance of the Republic Day is basically because when the English left and the colonization ended, we had something like 500 and odd Rajas and Nawabs ruling India. They were small, big, even Hyderabad had the Nawabs, the Asif Jahis. All of them were integrated. Last of all, Hyderabad in 1948 September. And our constitution was written, and 26th of January, we adopted the constitution. 26th of January 1950, right? So, we called ourselves a republic. A republic is a kind of government where there is an elected head of state, that is something opposing monarchy, which India had been for a long period of time, even under the Mughals and onwards, and when the English were ruling, we were under the crown. So again we had a monarchy. We were under the power which was having a monarchy in England. So actually we were under the English monarchy. So announcing ourselves to be a republic was a very, very big event, and therefore a national holiday has been announced since then, and we have been celebrating for the now 73rd year the Republic Day of India. The Republic gave us, because we adopted the Constitution, all the rights of citizenship, the freedom to speech and expression, the freedom to everyone to be considered equal, the freedom to run our own institutions, as a result of which we are running our schools, the right of minorities to have their own culture and their own language. All this preserved through the Constitution makes it a really august day to be celebrated. So therefore the celebration, and therefore a very, very august and happy Republic Day. Now I come to the topic of today's get together. The title given to me, the topic given to me, has been the increasing need for the spiritual development of educators. The increasing need for the spiritual development of educators. I will move slowly. We at Focus School have traversed some distance in our educational journey to bring holistic education to this part of the city. We were a single school, and those who have been with us for a longer period of time, they remember that we had this idea of adding school after school after school. You should remember it, right? It was looking a distant dream then. But within a very short period, we were able to add another school, and then this one about 3 years ago it was ready, but because of COVID, I think this is the first full year that we are working. But it has been a great experience, and it is due to the effort of all of you that we have been able to come, and roughly around 1700 to 1800 students are with us now, and the kind of education being imparted has been really appreciated by the people around us, and we have become a name in this part of the city, in the old city, being the only IB school or schools in the old city. Thank you for all the effort that all of you have put in to make what Focus is today. So this is the main idea that we had, to give holistic education to this part of the city. As we look forward, we find that times are changing fast, and the world is on the crossroads of great change. There is a lot of change coming in the world, and all of us are, I think, conscious of it. There are wars, there is a talk about economies going down, recession coming in, and a lot of other activities happening which are not abiding well for humanity in general. Today, with the technology that we have, we are getting a lot of issues born out of the technology we have adopted, and our next generation, which has got used to internet, to YouTube and the other Instagram, Facebook and other things, that now it is a point where the youth are not getting information in the right manner, and their minds are being clouded by information disseminated by people who have an idea of controlling these minds and using them as consumers. So our students today are under a deep rooted conspiracy of a kind being played out on internet, where their minds are being captured and they are being made consumers of things which are not going to help them as students, and then when they come into real life as citizens. So we have a challenge of saving the students and then bringing a good citizenry in the world, because if the students are not given the kind of education that is required and their minds are not cleared of that kind of thing which is making their minds narrow, bringing in ideas of hate in their minds, all this has to be worked at the school level. If the school cannot do that, the school will be failing in its primary duty of giving holistic education, and that education would be limited to teaching the sciences and mathematics and a bit of language, which by itself will not take us anywhere as a civilization. As a civilization, only science, maths and a bit of language will not help us. Will not help us. So what else needs to be added? What else needs to be added to make that feeling of holistic education complete? The topic is actually trying to go towards that direction. In these confusing times, finding a path for ourselves as educators, and as a result, becoming margdarshaks for our students and their families, becomes a significant duty which educators alone can fulfill. My voice is reaching all of you, right? And it is being understood properly. I am going slowly. Am I going too fast? Right? Now that we are there, are we willing to take this onerous responsibility? And if we are, what would be the basis, the foundation for taking forward this mission? What is the mission? The mission is basically to make the students conscious of themselves in a manner that they choose from what they are getting and are not captured by people who are making them choose what they want. That means this is to retain the freedom of the students and making their choice basically such that they choose on the basis of reason and are not captured as emotional human beings by what is being offered to them. So this is a difficult task, and if we take this mission forward, it will have to be based on certain solid principles. It cannot be said that, oh, because this is wrong, you should not do it. It needs to have a basis. Just by telling the student that this is bad, this is not bad, this is good, this is not good, it's not going to work. Because the power of the internet is for all of us to see. Leave alone the students, it is capturing the minds of educated elderly people as well. So the students are much more gullible and are unable to find a proper direction in their lives, and this is the mission that we are going to take forward. It is obvious that guiding or enlightening the students requires that we ourselves are guided and enlightened, and as the Arabic saying goes, "Faqidu shay ma yuti," he who has not cannot give. If we ourselves are unable to surmount the challenge of the digital world, the internet, how will we be able to save the students who come to us? If the teachers themselves are struggling to use the internet, are finding it, taking their precious time for things which are totally worthless, and or either are making them more and more greater consumers instead of rational human beings. So if the teachers themselves are in a fix, how will they fix anything for anybody? It's not possible, right? So the problem comes now that the teachers themselves need to be properly enlightened. In other words, what we are trying to do is delineating or framing the contours of our educational philosophy with the intention of empowering our pedagogy. Right? What are we trying to do? We are trying to frame the outlines, the contours of our educational philosophy with the intention of empowering our pedagogy. At the basic level of the book, you only teach the subject. But the subject has to be embedded on a foundation which is so solid that it corresponds with the reality of today. And the reality of today is not limited to the subject and learning the subject. The reality of today is the today's life which a person lives day in and day out, the teacher as well as the taught. This was an introduction, and we now get to the subject, need for spiritual development of educators. Right? Do we need spiritual development of educators or we don't? If we do need it, why do we need it? Let us first define the word need. What does need mean? Need is something without which you wouldn't be able to, you wouldn't be what you want to be. Need is something that if you wouldn't have it, that thing which you need, you would not be what you are. For example, if you are in a dark room, you require light to see. And if you don't have light, you will not be able to see. So light becomes a need for you. Right? You're following me, that's good. To follow a bad teacher is the best thing that you can do. So light becomes your need, and if you want to see anything in darkness, you would have to have it, and therefore it's your need. Now this light works in the darkness of a room. There's a kind of light which we require which is above the light of the physical kind. Light, the photons and the electrical charge. You have to have light of a different kind, which we would call the spiritual light. Will come to that. But now we do need it or not, but the need should be such that if you have it, you will be different. You will be seeing different things in the same way that in a light, in a dark room, you are able to see the things in the room. Fine? So what we are trying to do is to bring some kind of enlightenment in us with which we can see reality in better light, or if I would say, we would develop an insight into reality. Some kind of better understanding of what is happening around us and to us. Now coming to the spiritual development. We are broaching this subject having in mind that if achieved, it would develop an insight in the educator far beyond what he/she sees or imagines without spirituality. It intends to basically make us all capable of looking at things above the physical, above what we see. In Urdu, they use two words, basirat and basarat. Basarat is the ordinary sight. Basirat is insight. Right? So if we want to get insight into things, we require a kind of a spiritual approach. This is a big claim. Right? We are saying that there is something in the human being capable of making him look at things with greater sight than what his obvious sight would give him or her. This is a big claim. We are stating that if properly developed, spirituality will make us understand far beyond obvious and mundane reality available to all normal human beings endowed with common sense. What are we saying? We are saying basically this, that people with common sense have an understanding only on the basis of their common sense of reality. All of us have it. Right? But what we are saying is that we need to have something beyond that, where common sense stops and there is a higher reality which is beyond common sense. Higher science is beyond common sense. Higher mathematics is beyond common sense. Higher spirituality is beyond common sense. Beyond common sense means something above the normal. Can we do that? Can we achieve it? Is there a process? Is there a proof towards going towards that direction and getting ourselves more spiritually enlightened and therefore acting on it and then making the children understand it, and through the children the families, and changing the mold in which the society lives and exists and flourishes. So this is the claim, and we hope that we would be able to reach that point one day or the other. Therefore, if this claim is big, the proof should be commensurate with it. The proof should be commensurate with the claim, what we want to prove. As a result, our proof for need of spiritual development in educators will have to cover all the domains of human existence. We can just not look at something without going deep into things, because we want a deeper understanding, a greater understanding, a more profound understanding. We need to go deeper and think more and more deeper with whatever facts at all levels, at the level of physical, the mental and the spiritual. All of these realities will have to be looked into. So now, if we are thinking of the human being from all these aspects, the physical, the mental and the metaphysical or the spiritual, we will have to go deep, deep, deep down. And then we have to start at the beginning of life itself. How did life start? What did life look like? How did it move towards what we are today? All these things need to be profoundly understood. And we are now in the year 2023 behind a lot of research which has happened throughout history, and more so during the last 100 odd years. Science has made real progress during the 100 and odd years that we are having, and which is very, very easily available to us, all documented and accessible to us through the internet. Earlier we had to go to libraries, and for one book you need to search for 1 hour. After that you would find it or not find it, and once you found it, you wouldn't know where the topic of your concern or that statement which you were searching would be found. That would take another week. That takes 10 to 15 seconds now in the internet world. I have lived in that part of the century, in the 80s and 90s, when we used to go to the state library here, searching for books. Finding it would be difficult. They would point that it's there. At times you would find it there, at times you couldn't find it there. It wouldn't be there. Right? And then after finding, again you would have to spend 1 week to get to what you wanted. Something not very easy. So in that sense, we are on a very, very, very convenient platform today. What we want can be easily accessed, provided we can go through. It's not the library there. It's all the things which are surrounding the internet, which is making it difficult to reach where you want to reach. Earlier it was the physical reality. There were so many books, you had to go to find a book. Now it's not that. What you find is available easily. But getting there, making yourself trained to go straight through the internet to what you want without looking at the advertisements, what pops up every minute or two, stopping that to happen and looking straight to what you really want. So one advantage is there through internet. Despite all the problems that it has created, it has made knowledge more accessible to us. So we need to start understanding the beginning of humanity, starting from the DNA, which started replicating itself initially. Then we had the single cellular animals, and then we had the other forms of life, grew from the reptiles and amphibians and this to what we are today as human beings. Complicated. Formed out of stardust. A lot of what we have was formed in the core of stars. We have iron, which was formed in the core of stars. We have a bit of gold in us, which was formed in the core of stars. So we have been created in a very, 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 very profound and intricate manner. Our creation is not that simple. And from the point of view of our being fetuses to what we are today, again, that has been a profound journey. The physical laws say that there should be entropy. That means that matter thrown by itself should disintegrate further and further and become more and more unorganized. That is the rule in which the physical world exists. In science, you call it entropy. But in that disorganized form, we find there is an organization taking place one after another, from life itself, consciousness itself, to the human being of today. How does that happen? There are two principles working at the same time. One, the destructive principle, and the other, the zor se. One the destructive principle, and the other the constructive, creative, right? The creative principle. Now there are these two principles. We have been created at the fag end of the creative principle. We human beings, right, have been created at the fag end of the creative. That means we are at the pinnacle of creativity. The process through disorganized matter which took place and brought something like all of us in this world. So what happened? A lot of disorganization was put aside and a lot of organization started to work, and therefore we became what we are today. Now, after coming to this point, I want you to pay attention. Now, after coming to this point, we have the potential to follow the disorganized principle as well as the organized principle. But we are the result of the organized principle. So what is natural to us? Right? How difficult for us it is to organize our own mind, organize our own body. Is it easy? No. But how have we been organized to what we are? Right? From the initial DNA to the human being of today. Then, of all things, we have the ability to have language. Humans are the only species which has the ability of language. Part of its brain is hardwired for language. Before us, the Neanderthals didn't have this ability at all. They didn't have this ability at all. So we have been blessed with language. Language got converted into script. Got converted into script. And that made it permanent. Anybody had an idea here? That idea would vanish. And what did he do? What is script? It is symbols through which language is understood, right? When you say A, there is that kind of a sound which is associated with A for the word which you have. For example, apple. So once you write apple, right, you get that. As you get into more complicated things, formulae and all that, and then more language developed, mathematics also is a language. Ideas are expressed through mathematics in the form of symbols. Yeah, numbers are also symbols, right? So all that happened. So we are where? We are at the height of it, the pinnacle of it, the epitome of it. And once it comes to human action and interaction, we only want the hormones to work, the reptilian brain to work. What is the reptilian brain? The brain of a reptile. The reptile at that level of existence was only thinking of its survival. Only thinking of its survival. For where there is only survival, where is the question of growth and development? So the reptile didn't have anything of that kind. So the brain developed in the reptile, and we have that part of the brain in us as well. So when we want to live at that level, we only think of our survival. For survival, you don't require language. For survival, you don't require higher skills. For survival, you don't require aesthetics. For survival, you don't require peace in the society. Right? You don't require all that. You can live at the level of the reptile or the animal. And there you can have everything, but you will be surviving through the survival of the fittest, right? We in the school have a section called Endeavor, right? What do you do in that section, the Endeavor section? Children with learning disabilities are brought in. They have physical problems as well. They are taken care of, and slowly their strength is developed, right? and their ability to learn is enhanced, and then slowly they become like normal students, some of them going back to the class which they are supposed to be in. Great development. Great thing. As an organization, we are doing this. There is nothing of this kind in the animal kingdom. Getting hold of the weak, trying to develop it through a process. That weak person is not related to you, not known to you, but you put up a setup. Parents who are having these kind of children, and it's a big thing for them. It's a great pressure on them. Mental pressure, social pressure, stigma through which they are going. Having a child, and women go through it more. The poor mother is considered to be the cause of the disability in the child. The father is not. Is it correct? Surely no. Right? Disability can come from any genetic side. But poor women, for all the good work they do, for the bad things in the world, they are made culpable. It's happening like that. The society is biased in a way. That doesn't mean that women should become biased. Right? That doesn't mean that. If somebody is biased against you, you don't become biased against the other. And the only other you get hold of is the husband. No, never do that. Right? People are understanding what I'm saying, right? Yeah. So you have a very, very complicated world. One side there is disorganization, entropy. From the other side there is organization of the level that we are speaking of. Coming back. In animals, we have the chimpanzee, which is closest to us. 98% plus of our DNA is the same as that of a chimpanzee. 98% plus. That's how close we are to the animal kingdom. Coming further on, our own DNA, 99.9% of DNA that all of us have is common. Only 0.1% of DNA is different in human beings. So all human beings share 99.9% of a common DNA. Science has brought it to this level. In earlier spiritual traditions, it was very obvious. The Hindu tradition in Maha Upanishad says, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole of mankind is a single family. The whole of mankind is a single family. Incidentally, it is written on our parliament, right? And that idea that the whole of humanity, they didn't have all the scientific data we have today. They didn't. Now we can prove scientifically that we are all a single family, born of a single mother and father. The Quran also says, Ya ayyuhan nas khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa unsa. O mankind, we have created you of a single man and a single woman. The Quran also says the same thing. And we have made you into different nations, tribes, so that you may interact and know each other. And remember that he amongst you or she amongst you who is most conscious of God is the most noble in the eyes of God. Nobility is not defined through race, class, caste, color, language. Nobility is being described and emphasized through a process of the spirit, which is being conscious of God. The same principle running in Buddhism, in Christianity, Judaism, and everybody. I have just quoted Hinduism and Islam, considering they are the two biggest religions that we have in India. So how do you come to an understanding of that kind and not consider people different from you, who speak a different language, follow a different religion? We all belong to the same family. Getting that into the mind of the child needs to be through your getting it into your mind. The commonness, what science is doing today is helping us in this effort. It is bringing us to the point where it's saying that 99.9% of your DNA is common anytime, anywhere, from the Red Indian to the Aborigines to the most modern of Europeans or Americans. So what's there? It's that easy. So one side, the physical part of our proofs is bringing us closer and closer together. Distance-wise also we are becoming closer and closer, right? Travel has become very easy. The world has become a single village, right? So that coming together also requires a kind of a rule how to live together. When you have a lot of people to live with, you have to learn how to live with. Earlier, there used to be joint families, 50 people having a single bathroom. And nobody had a problem. And nobody have lived in that kind of a house. And nobody complained. And nobody had a problem. Everybody would organize their things in a particular manner and everybody would be happy. So, right, so now that we are coming closer, so there is a lot of tension amongst groups, each group trying to assert itself and becoming more and more violent, and there is a lot of war in this world. So getting the mind rid of the war. Which mind wants a war? It's the reptilian brain. It wants to fight to survive. But an evolved spiritual brain, which speaks of a single family, of oneness of parents, of being brothers and sisters, this brain is the result not of the physical kind. It is the ability of the human being to cross the physical, to cross the mental and come to the level of the spiritual, to get an insight into something which is not visible at all. How did the people arrive at that conclusion? That we are all brothers and sisters, right? With different colors, different castes, different languages, different geography, different physical features, all that, but still we were able to understand that. That ability of ours is what I call the spiritual ability. The more you go inside yourself, the more you start evolving. What you see in the mirror is the first image. What you see in the mirror is the first image. Then you have a mental understanding of yourself, that I am this and that, which the mirror doesn't tell you. And above that mental is another understanding of yourself. The mental self is the thinking self, right? You think, therefore you say that you are mentally active. Correct? When do you say that you are mentally active? When you are in a thought process. The thought basically uses the brain, which is a repository of your past memories, and it yields to your asking questions of it. You remember certain things, right? And the brain has it in its memory, and when you want it, you take it out. Language by itself is also a process of using memory, and in some cases where you have dementia or Alzheimer, the ability of the brain to give out facts which earlier it had becomes lesser and lesser. It's like a hand which has suffered a paralytic attack and therefore is unable to lift something which it used to normally lift. So the brain, what you do is, the mental activity is something in the thought process, and that is activity. Physical activity, mental activity. The spiritual does nothing when it's at its higher level. The mental does what? At its higher level, think fast and in an organized manner. What does the spiritual do at its highest level? The spiritual at its highest level does nothing. The physical does a lot of. When you are running, you are more physical. When you are sitting, you are less physical. When you are lying down, you are less physical. You are asleep, you are even less physical. Right? So your physical activity is depending upon how much active you are physically. So if you are running, you are most physically active. Swimming, you are most physically active. Right? Mentally, again the same thing. If you are really putting your mind to use, right? Thinking of complicated things which you have put in or trying to put in. All that is shown through activity. So when you are at the top of your mental activity, you are really thinking fast, adding and joining things quickly. But at the top level of spirituality, you are doing nothing. Then how does it work? At the top level of spirituality, what happens is, you basically feel that you are part of everything. You basically feel that you are part of everything. So once you are part of everything, where is the running required? Where is the thinking required? It is not required. Spirituality makes you capable of feeling one with everything. The mind can't feel one with everything because it has a particular place in your mind. The physical can't think of being with everybody, everything. It's not possible, right? But the spiritual in you has that ability. So once you reach that state, you come to a point where these words make a lot of sense, which the sages and the prophets of old were able to tell through their spiritual understanding. Otherwise, these words of the whole of humanity or mankind being a single family wouldn't have come. They didn't have the data, the physical data for them. How did they come to that conclusion? The spirit soared to the point that it started feeling one with everything. Once they felt that, they started telling that. The similar thing is in the Quran also. How did the Quran say? The basic factor is, it is basically you know it through your spiritual being with everything. And therefore you are able to say. The proof of it is you yourself. You yourself. So, being a mental person, being a physical person like an athlete, and being a spiritual person are very, very different. So, every one of us has a level of spirituality, has a level of physicality, has a level of mental development. All of us. We do have a bit of spirituality also. Even the most ordinary person does have, he feels some kind of belonging with somebody. He understands friendship to a certain extent. Even the most or worst dictators who have killed thousands of people, right, have some bonds of friendship, some family bonds. They have, right? They love somebody, their children, their friends, though they have killed thousands and thousands of people. So there is that sense of being with someone, belonging to someone at the most pernicious or most destructive level also. Like a person who has a paralytic attack has some kind of physical movement. Some kind of physical. These are the lowest levels. A person with dementia has some kind of mental activity. Right or wrong? But are we going to remain at that level? No. Physically, for sure. Mentally, for sure. Anybody wants to live at a lesser mental level? Anybody? Anybody wants to live at a very lesser physical principle level? No. But the same doesn't happen with spirituality. We are very happy with a very basic understanding of the spiritual. सब चलता है. थोड़ी वर्शिप कर ली, थोड़ी भक्ति कर ली, थोड़ी नमाज पढ़ ली, थोड़ा कुछ और कर लिया, and we are so happy. Physically, that would be like a paraplegic or a quadriplegic, and mentally, it would be like somebody with a mental problem, dementia. We don't want that at all. We don't want that at all. But then why are we defining our spiritual selves at the bare minimum? Anybody has an answer? The answer is, the mental won't create many problems, the physical activity won't create many problems, but the spiritual, when it starts growing, starts asking things of you which you don't want to do. If you are with everyone, as the spiritual principle would say, at the highest level, you should let go of your greed, let go of your possessions. Who likes to let go of his greed? Let go of your anger. Let go of your feeling of superiority. All this is what the spirituality starts demanding from you. You feel this is the worse than physical disability, worse than mental disability. We have everything, but we can't show off. Why shouldn't we not show off? We have all the things to show off. Why shouldn't we? We are superior to somebody. Why shouldn't we feel superior? Why shouldn't we feel superior? If somebody says something to us, why shouldn't we feel angry? Why should we forgive? Why should we smile? Why should we give the other cheek when somebody slaps us on one? Problems. So therefore we say spirituality at the bare minimum is the best thing that you can have. It gives you the fundamental freedom of being what you want to be, right? And not asking questions of you. And physical and mental is not that much of a problem. Rather, it is a solution. So spirituality becomes a problem above a certain level, so you don't want it. And physicality and mental activity doesn't become a problem at all. So you want it to keep going and at least, if not improving, at least not decreasing. So this is one of the fundamental problems also for educators. If you think with a narrow mind, with a spirit which doesn't want to soar, obviously what you teach the children would be something similar kind, nothing better than that. The children would learn your own limitedness of life, of anger, of greed, of jealousy. Human beings are like that. If we don't have something, we feel jealous of the person we have it. Because we don't feel one with everyone. If we start feeling one with everyone, every good thing is appreciable. If you feel with one with everything, you are happy with everything. If you see a good jewelry worn by somebody, you are as happy as it is yours. The jewelry is good, right? The jewelry. Right? Why is it good? Because it's to be worn by me, then it becomes good. Where does it come from? Where does it come from? It comes from a particular level of thought process, right? Right or wrong? Somebody is better looking. I should be better looking to be appreciated. Therefore, I will not appreciate anybody who is better looking than me. The mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of all syndrome. The mirror survives because it tells that you are. Where is the matter? Somebody is more richer than you, somebody is more educated than you, somebody is more, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Life slowly takes you away. Life is not for always, right? So live it in a manner that it is in consonance with what we are. We are coming, getting stronger, then weaker, and then going away. And nothing belongs to us the way we feel that it belongs to us. Our wealth is not something which belongs. It is with us for a while. People recognize it and we recognize it. But that is not our reality. Our reality is something which is there before we came. It's with us when we are here today and will remain with us when we are gone from this world. So if somebody can feel himself or herself as being there before being physically in the world and being there after going away physically from this world, what will happen to his or her mind? It will emancipate itself, it will become free, or will it become narrow? Tell me. बोलिए बोलिए. दिमाग अगर इस तरीके से सोचने लगे तो तंग हो जाएगा या फैल जाएगा? इंसान का वजूद तंग हो जाएगा या फैल जाएगा? Right? Does the existential problem of that person get solved or remain unsolved? Solve हो जाएगा ना? तो जो चीज मेरी है वो उतनी इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं रहेगी. अगर अच्छी है कहीं पर भी रहे तो अच्छा है. The duty of the teacher is to see to it that the child becomes a better person, both from the point of view of the knowledge she is imparting and as an individual than her and him himself. Right? The child should become better. Both the subject you are teaching as well as an individual. For the subject you are preparing yourself. You are preparing yourself, right? For teaching that subject, English, math, science, whatever it be. And for the person to become better than you as an individual, why aren't you thinking? Why don't you want to leave children your own as well as the children you are teaching at a higher level than you? If you identify with everybody like that, you would like to have it to happen, otherwise you won't. And since that is not your purpose, you will teach in a narrow manner, represent yourself to the child in a narrow manner. So whatever you are doing will become narrower and narrower. And also you look at the salary, that the salary is not increasing the way the cost of living is increasing. So therefore you have to give less than what is to be given. So because the salary is less, teaching also becomes less. You become more rude to the child and to yourself and to the family, and the life becomes a miserable place to live. But you are living just for the sake that you have been born, and at times cursing yourself for what you are. Is this the way to live? Can a teacher be like that? With all the negativity coming from home and all the negativity given to the school and the children, and then going back home with more negativity and coming back with an enhanced negativity the next day. चलेगा? तेज तेज बोल रहा हूं क्या? नहीं चलेगा. होता है नहीं होता है? होता है? कुछ कुछ होता है. हाँ, होता है नहीं होता है? थोड़ा थोड़ा तो होता है ना? Why? Why? Science is telling us that we should be like that. Huh? Whatever proofs we are having, does it tell us that we should be like that? Right? Just because we don't want to get more and more aware of ourselves, and as a result become more and more spiritual, and therefore become part of the whole universe, and therefore becoming thinkers in a manner which benefits themselves and the others. Whatever you are thinking in this spiritual sense will benefit you first. You will be released from the bonds of your own limitedness, physical and mental. Physical and mental has a limit. Physical has a limit in the contours of your body, and the mental again to the ability of its ability to give you facts which you have put in or organize it in a particular manner. That is all. You are limited and limited and limited both physically and mentally. सच है या नहीं है? Mental ability एक हद तक ही है ना? Physical ability एक हद तक ही है ना? Human process of knowledge is an impaired process of knowledge. It's not the easiest way. The way we learn, it's a very, very, very long process. The reason it took 4,000, 6,000 years from the day we started writing to the theories we developed in the 19th and 20th century. Nearly 90% plus of maths developed during the last 100 years. 90% of mathematics developed during the last 100 years. What happened to the 5,900 years? We started writing something around 4,000 BC. Around 4,000 BC, human beings started having some kind of writing. And from there, it took us this much time to understand certain facts about what, and still we are at the beginning. Slowly and slowly we started to gather information, and during the last 100 years we have been lucky enough to get a lot more information on the physical aspect of things, both at the quantum level and at the level of the universe. Both we have got real. We have been able to identify the age of the universe, something like 13.7, 13.8 billion years. We have been able to do that, and scientifically, with the proper proof. Nobody says that the proof is not correct. It has clear physical available data analyzed scientifically with proper proofs. It's not a conjecture. It is very, very clear. So we have this part. We are lucky to be here at the end of the 20th and the beginning of the 21st century. We are lucky. Use this. And a lot of spiritual things which were told thousands of years ago get their physical proofs today. Similarly, the mental part. A lot of work on psychoanalysis, psychiatry has been done. A lot of proofs of empirical psychiatry have been available. How the human mind is organized, a lot of it has come. Neuroscience has developed in a great way during this 100 years. All these facts which are available to us can be used by us to understand the physical better, the mental better, and as a result use this as a platform to enhance our spiritual capability, and step by step, first being good to yourself, then being good to your best friend, first the best friend, right? Even better than you are. Respecting people more than you respect yourself, difficult, right? Difficult. But spirituality says, because you are sure of your own weaknesses and not very sure of the weaknesses of other person, right? You know a lot of your own weaknesses. So give him more respect than you give yourself. Oh, that cannot be. It's better to die than to give somebody more respect than that you give yourself. But spirituality says you can. Respect the other more than you. So his shouting on you makes it more look logical, and your shouting on him or her looks less logical. तो उसकी डांट सुनना ज्यादा रीजनेबल दिखेगा आपको बनिस्बत उसके आपको डांटने में. अच्छा है बुरा है ये? किसी की डांट सुन रहे हैं वो ज्यादा सही दिख रहा है, किसी को डांटना बुरा दिख रहा है. कौन सी चीज अच्छी है? डांटना अच्छा है ना, सुनना क्यों? When you start respecting the other, the opposite happens. This is what we call counterintuitive in higher sciences and in spirituality also. Spirituality is totally counterintuitive. You understand the word counterintuitive? That which general common sense wouldn't tell you. Right? Should I give you an example? I'll give you an example. Simple example. If you are traveling in a jeep, standing there at a 20 kilometers speed. The jeep is traveling and you are standing in the jeep. right? It doesn't have a roof. You're standing. You throw a ball at the speed of 20 kilometers. So you're already moving at the speed of 20 kilometers. You throw the ball at the speed of 20 kilometers. So the ball now starts moving in front of you, right? That means it's traveling faster than you. Otherwise, you won't go from 20 kilometers. You are moving. At that speed, you release the ball. The ball is moving at 20 kilometers. So at what speed is the ball moving now? 40 kilometers. Simple, right? Very, very easily understandable. Otherwise, it won't move. If it's just moving at 20 kilometers, right, it will be going around along with you. It won't. It moves forward. So your additional force, it had already a force because it was moving in your hand, right? From there, it started moving faster. But light, it doesn't happen like that. If something is mounted on a point and which is moving at the speed of light, and from there you fire light. Something moving at the speed of light, right? And from there you fire another ray of photons. What should happen? It should actually double, right? It should move at double the speed of light. There's nothing like moving at double the speed of light. That's the maximum. So that beam will travel alongside with this. Funny, right? You are moving physically, you throw a ball, it moves at the speed of 40 kilometers because you are moving at 20. But light, it doesn't happen that way. That's what we call counter-intuitive. Actually, it should have, but it doesn't. Proven. It's not something which I am telling you, which is not proven. It's 100% proven. Anything cannot travel faster than the speed of light. So if you are moving at the speed of light, fire a ray of light, it won't go at double the speed of light. It should actually, but it doesn't. So therefore, we say counterintuitive. A lot of spirituality is counterintuitive. That means what looks good to you at the mental level will not look good to you at the spiritual level. As the rate goes upwards and upwards and upwards and upwards, the reality becomes more and more clear. So hate vanishes from your heart because it looks meaningless. Anger vanishes from your heart. It looks meaningless. Jealousy vanishes from your heart. It looks meaningless. Cheating someone, if these things look meaningless, which naturally happen to us, cheating someone which doesn't naturally happen to us becomes more meaningless. Being or cheating somebody in any form, right, becomes totally unthinkable. Living a life as a husband and wife, on the commitments that we have as a wife and a husband, transgressing it looks unimaginable. I'm telling in a world where adultery has been legalized in India few years ago, where the bond of marriage makes no sense at all. The court says the bond of marriage is meaningless. But spirituality says it has all the meaning in the world. So today's world is going from the spiritual to the mental to the physical. We need to move in the right direction, of which when I mentioned to you in the beginning that we have come through a lot of processes which in a disorganized world were the most organized principle happening, and then it ended at us, at all of us. In a world which is totally having the principle of entropy, there is somebody who is like us, or we who have come about. That is through the constant process of organization. So when we have come to that point, what we need to do is move that to a higher level or bring it to a lower level. We need to bring it to a higher level. हम यहाँ से शुरू हुए मुर्दा matter से, dead matter से, and then we move to what we are today. So now that we are here, do we need to bring it back to the matter level, or we want to enhance it to the higher level? We want to enhance it to the higher level, right? That is enhancing process is called spirituality. Now whether educators need spirituality or not, I want the answer from you. बोलिए, पानी पी लेता हूं जब तक. Nobody's answering. ऐसी स्पिरिचुअलिटी नहीं होना. हाँ, भाड़ में जाए बोले ऐसी स्पिरिचुअलिटी जहां पे गुस्सा नहीं है, जहां पे जलन हसद नहीं है, ठीक है, जहां पे किसी को डांट नहीं सकते बल्कि डांट ढूंढने की ख्वाहिश हो रही है. क्या हुआ? फिर भी अच्छी है, स्टिल गुड, राइट? आई मीन स्पिरिचुअलिटी, इवन इफ इट्स मेकिंग यू feel one with everything and therefore controlling your anger, controlling your jealousy, controlling your wanting everything for yourself. And if we can get to that point, helping each other in the process, if we can get to that point, helping each other in the process, where would we be as human beings? At the top or at the bottom? Very sure about it? Why don't we want to get to the top? If we want to get to the top from the point of view of the physical and the mental, we would be too happy to. Would we not? Why not here? Where the road is open. Physically सबसे अच्छे दिखे, possible नहीं है. ठीक है? Possible नहीं है. सबसे पैसे वाले हों, ये भी possible नहीं है. है ये? realm of possibility में है. अरबों अरबों लोगों में एक आदमी होता, उन्हें भी थोड़े दिनों के बाद कोई और उसको ओवरटेक कर देता. Right? So you can't be the most beautiful, you can't be the most wealthy, you can't be the most educated. Possible है. But from your point of view, you can be the most liberated. You can be the most liberated. And it has nothing to concern with other person's liberation. It had nothing to do with other person's liberation. He or she can be as liberated, and you would be happy to have a friend of that kind, and you yourself can be liberated. So there is nobody to overtake you actually. You are being liberated, others being liberated, you are happy. It's not like somebody is becoming richer than you, somebody is becoming more beautiful than you, somebody becomes something and something or more educated than you. It's nothing there. You have an open road. जो रोड ओपन है, जिस पे कोई स्पीड ब्रेकर ही नहीं है, वो हम नहीं चलेंगे, और जिस पे 1000 स्पीड ब्रेकर है, कई हमारे बने हुए और कई दुनिया के बने हुए, हम उसको लेके चलना चाह रहे हैं आगे. इसको अक्ल बोलते हैं. तो हम सब बेवकूफ हैं. कंक्लूजन कर लो भाई, आप लोग ही कर लो. ठीक है, हम अक्लमंद हैं सब या बेवकूफ हैं हम सब? अब बेवकूफ है, अगर बेवकूफ टीचरें हो जाएं, अब टीचरें अगर बेवकूफ हो जाएं, तो बच्चों का क्या हाल होगा? हाँ, इफ द टीचर्स आर एज यू सेड, मैं नहीं बोल रहा हूं, मैं जसारत नहीं कर सकता, आई कैन बी दैट, राइट? तो if we are not at the best of our minds, at the best level of our own being, we are harming ourselves, and through our being less, we are giving children that which they don't deserve. We are giving them something which is less than best, which you possibly can, and coming together and creating an ambience of that kind where the school becomes a space for really pushing hard on spirituality, and spirituality brings you all the kinds of knowledge at the mental and physical level. When you are higher level, when you have a higher level of spirituality, your mind is at the optimum level. उसमें कचरा आप भरते ही नहीं, उसमें कचरा आप भरते ही नहीं. You won't fill things which are not useful to you into it at all. So all things which are irrelevant for your spiritual development, you will not put it there. And all things which you require for your spiritual development, and that means you require a lot of science, a lot of literature. बहुत ज़्यादा लिटरेचर की जरूरत पड़ेगी, बहुत ज़्यादा साइंस की जरूरत पड़ेगी, बहुत ज़्यादा रिलीजियस टेक्स्ट की जरूरत पड़ेगी. इतना आसानी से नहीं आ जाएगी. तो आप क्या क्या करेंगे? हर चीज को आप अंदर लेने के लिए जो खराब चीजें हैं उसको अंदर आने नहीं देंगे. तो यानी आप एक मैकेनिज्म सेटअप कर लेंगे अपने लिए. यू विल क्रिएट अ मैकेनिज्म फॉर योरसेल्फ, अ फिल्टर फॉर योरसेल्फ, वेयर योर माइंड इज रिडिंग इटसेल्फ ऑफ द पोल्यूटेंट्स एंड क्रिएटिंग स्पेस फॉर मोर यूजफुल डेटा, more useful ideas which are coming to you through literature, through religious literature, through the stories of saints and sages, through the development in science and mathematics. All that comes together and it fills up your mind and makes you what you are, and with the help of others you create a world which is totally different from any world which people would want to create without the help of spirituality. So now that we consider that our duty it is to move to a higher level, and we can go into more proofs. I'm just giving this talk to you just to signify the need for spiritual development among teachers. You can say that it is required or not? Sure? Zor se bolo. Yes. Right? Okay, now that you say that, we would like to have some volunteers who would like to traverse this field of getting towards a spiritual, higher spiritual level, so that we can convert it into a kind of a workshop and a training process for all the teachers, right? So amongst you, those who want to become volunteers and form the core committee of it, the requirement would be that you should read, right? You should think, right? And you would like to go to a higher level of spiritual understanding. ये तीन चीजें होना चाहिए, पढ़ने का शौक होना चाहिए. पहली तो realization कि spiritually possible है हम growth करने का, और चीजें पढ़ने का रहेगा. Because if the core committee is formed, the core committee would be given, some of them would be given the task, you go and just search this kind of works available. If it's somebody in science, this thing. If there are somebody wanting into sociology, anthropology, something like this. If somebody is into science, something like this. And somebody into religion, something like this. And when I say religion, it's with a capital R. Religion means all religions. All religions at their core have the basic principle of spirituality. Had there not been spirituality in the core, no religion would have grown. No religion would have grown. So all religions at their core have that spirituality. So people who want to become part of this team would need to really go and get data. And getting the data is easy. We can guide them. Go here, go there, look at this test, look at that test. And they would be slowly developing and getting the ability to data mining from the sources available. तो इससे ये फायदा होगा कि ये एक प्रोसेस बन जाएगा, और ये प्रोसेस को लेकर हम फिर उसको वाइडर ऑडियंस में आप लोगों के दरमियान एक वर्कशॉप के थ्रू, and then we can convert it into a proper course which can be having 1 period or 2 periods per week, and then you bring in that. I think if this can be done, focus schools would become something different from what they are today. A lot of good work has happened. Thanks all the effort which all of you have put under the leadership of the senior teachers. I miss Minhaj today. I really miss him. At times my head wants to turn and look at him on that side. And once or twice I did that. I really miss him. Right? He's been the person who lit the flame. And it was his tireless effort to bring in all of you here and make these institutions what they are. He still supports us. He's still with us. He's still the principal of these schools. And we hope to grow them under his guidance, though he's at a distance from us. Thank you very much.